Well, those of you who are familiar, Miss Sebrina wasn't ready now I'm ready. Now I'm ready. Those of you who are familiar with what we did last week will know that we are interviewing Dr. Keith Newby. He is returning to Girlfriend's Tea. Tamika Shepherd is online within the Facebook groups, and she's going to be manning the questions. So we're here to answer your questions. We're here to answer some of your questions. I'm going to allow time for some of the questions to be answered. And I need to find the one from last time where Erica Jones had a question, but I will find that. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in our special guest this evening, Dr. Keith Newby.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. And I want to remind everyone, if you don't click on the StreamYard link, if you're watching live, you have to click on the StreamYard link for StreamYard to show your name. So I won't be to call you out by name. Your name will show on the Facebook group or any other social media platform, but it will not show to me. So if your name is important, then you might want to click on that StreamYard link to give StreamYard permission to show your name. Well, we're going to start without further ado. And I've got some great news, you all. Dr. Newby knows that I'm so excited about a little bit of progress. It's not a little testimony. It's a great testimony for me. And I say God is good. But for those who are joining us for the first time, you may not be familiar with our guest. So I'll tell you something about him. Dr. Keith H. Newby is a native of Norfolk, where he attended Emory High School. He graduated from Norfolk State University, where he majored in biology and minored in music before earning his medical degree from Eastern Virginia Medical School. He completed his internship and residency at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, and then served as a fellow in cardiology at Duke University with an emphasis in clinical cardiac electrophysiology. So he's here now with us in Hampton Roads, and he's has a practice at that Norfolk Medical Associates since 2010, and he's the CEO of that. So, Dr. Newby, I hope I didn't botch that up. You're CEO and president.
No, you're good. You're good to go. You're always good to go. So you don't have to worry about anything. No botching here. You're an expert as always.
Well, thank you. But I want to thank you for joining me for a cup of tea.
Got you here. Got my Denver Broncos cup.
I love it. I have my girlfriend's teacup, and I'm drinking elderberries. And as you know, elderberries really became popular. I didn't know about elderberries until COVID.
Yeah.
You know, COVID. Everybody was, oh my gosh, I don't want to think about it. They were taking some of everything. But COVID, for sure. I mean, elderberries for sure.
Yeah, I mean, even the thing with that, I tell people all the time that, we ran into our issues with trying to get people vaccinated during that time. And people say, well, I'm doing my elderberries and all this other thing. And I told them, I said, listen, that's great because that will help to strengthen your immune system. But, the one thing I try to get people to understand how medicine works. And with vaccinations, you're essentially priming your body to be able to fight a virus. So it has to recognize the virus in order to fight it. So it has to build up that army, and that's where the vaccines come in. I look at elderberries as like a reinforcement to the army. So that's like giving you some extra foot soldiers, but you still got to have your main army ready to fight. Yes. So I tell people, if you want to be at your best, do those things. Make sure you exercise and you're eating properly and all that, but still you have to do other things to make sure you enhance your safety. So I would always tell people, don't just let the natural course be your only thing you do, because that is true. I want you to do that part, but I also want you to make sure you take advantage of what the medical science world has to offer.
Absolutely, because we can be our own, I would say our own enemy when we try to circumvent, and it's okay. I'm all for holistic measures, but it depends upon the illness, right? If it's very serious, you might want to weigh, prayerfully weigh all of your options.
Yeah, well, people tend to. I hear people where they'll say that I want to do this natural approach. I'm like, but you're at McDonald's every day. There's nothing natural about that. So it's like people, it's like they come up with these interesting scenarios where they'll say, I want to do natural, but I want to still do what I want to do. And I want to eat where I want to eat. And I'm like, but if you're going to do it, then do it right, which means you stop all that stuff, organic, grow your own foods, do that's to me the best way. If you're trying to do a natural approach, you have to do the whole thing. It can't be half this and half that. I mean, you could do it that way, but you won't get the results you're looking for. I think what you're doing, Sebrina, is on point.
Well, thank you.
Yourself, I think you've demonstrated what you can do when you put your mind to it.
Well, let me tell you, since he brought it up, I was going to hold the testimony for a little bit.
Just go ahead, go for it.
Since he brought it up, I promised the girlfriends in the group that I would share. Well, I am plumb excited. For those who may not have seen the first broadcast, I will put with the first interview with Dr. Newby. I will add that link after this broadcast so that you can know the backstory of what happened. But I had a mini stroke on May 17th. On May 17th. And I went through CAT scan and MRI, and they couldn't find anything. Praise God. No damage to the brain, nothing with the heart. So, thank you, James, for clicking on the link so we can see that's James Holman saying hello to you, Dr. Newby. But with me, my cholesterol was high. And even my doctor, and I won't say who my doctor is since, I don't, but it's a doctor at EVMS, and I respect EVMS. Mm-hmm. He said, your cholesterol is high, but it's not really that high that I think you would have had that stroke. But I had to get it down. So they put me on initially, I hope I'm saying this right, atorvastatin. Atorvastatin. I can never get those.
That's okay. That's what you got me
around for. Atorvastatin and rosuvastatin.
Right.
Okay, so I was on atorvastatin first, everyone. And I put on in the Facebook group for the women that it was causing me insomnia. As soon as I took the pill, my head was just full of activity. So they took me off of 40 milligrams of that, the Ator, and then put me on the Rosu, which was only 10 milligrams. And so I called them, was concerned, and said, are you sure this is still effective? They said, oh, it's still effective. I wanted to make sure I was covered. But listen, y'all, I asked one of the doctors, not my doctor, but a substitute doctor. I said, I got to get off this medicine. I'm sorry. I got to get off the meds, Dr. Newby. I haven't been on meds like for the rest of my life ever before. And I want to be healthy if I can help it. So I said, I want to get off the medicine. What is my number to come off the med? And he said 100. So my cholesterol, everyone, was 149. 50 to 99, I've seen 40, 99 now, but 50 to 99 is good. Anything above 99 is high. Anything below 50 or 49 is low, according to the record that I have, the chart. So it was 149.
So when you talk about your cholesterol or your LDL?
LDL. Okay. My bad cholesterol. Okay, right. Thank you. My bad LDL. That's the bad stuff. That's what you don't want. And I've never had high bad LDL. So I was very concerned about that. I didn't want to increase my chances of having another stroke, another mini stroke or stroke. So I got serious. I mean, I've always eaten well, but I got real serious. When I tell you, Dr. Newby, I didn't touch any cholesterol. I was not playing. I was looking at labels. It had to say 0. So I did mostly fruits and vegetables, which I've always done that. But the problem, everyone, I think I shared in the last one, or maybe I didn't. I was eating shrimp. And Dungeness crab 3 to 4 days per week. So I cut that out. I gave, my shrimp to my girlfriend who said she doesn't have that problem. Mm-hmm. And then I was curious because it had been 7 weeks since I'd been on the medicine. So I called my doctor. I have an appointment with him next week and said, can you please draw the blood? Because I feel very confident that my LDL has gone down. So he put in the order for the blood work. Meanwhile, I got so much to tell y'all. My medical insurance, the nutritionist, they assigned me nutritionist. I'm going to tell y'all right now, I have never heard from, and I'm not going to say what they are because they're awesome, but I've never heard from my medical insurance company ever before. They have never called me. But when I had this mini stroke, oh my God, they were my best friends. They tried to save some money. That's what it is. They're trying to make me healthy, but they're trying to keep the cost low. I said, I have never heard from y'all. So she was telling me what I could eat, et cetera, et cetera. And I told her, I said, look, I'm on my way right now to the doctor's office. I'm so excited. I know it's going to be low. Not only was I eating right, but I was exercising. I still am 5 days per week and drinking my water. Okay. She said, oh, no, I've been in this business a long time. You can expect only a few clicks from 149. Well, I'm here to tell you, all glory to God, that my LDL cholesterol went from 149 to 47. Come on, somebody. Won't God do it? I couldn't believe it. Even with the medicine, she said she's counseled people on medicine. It's never, she said, never have I ever seen it drop that low. So what do you have to say about that, Dr. Newby?
I think that's you and Jesus doing that one, but the changes you've made in your health, this see, what a lot of people don't realize, and remember I commented earlier about people will say, I want to do this natural thing, but yet I'm gonna eat at McDonald's every day. If you're eating wrong and you're not exercising, things typically may get marginally better with cholesterol medicine. That's why that nurse or whoever it was what you spoke to said they only see a few clicks of improvement. Most of the time, that's because people don't follow the game plan. It's like they do have to game plan that the whole thing. The one thing I know about you, when you go in, you're all in, and I think that is demonstrated by your impressive cholesterol drop. Most of the time, what you eat, your activity or lack thereof, those are the things that can have the greatest impact. Even when you talk about blood pressure, and we could talk about that as we go along, you'd be surprised how lifestyle can impact blood pressure. The problem is trying to get people to follow those instructions. They'll do half of it, but they won't do the whole thing. And then they wonder why things are only marginally getting better. I have found characteristically that it is what people eat and how they live that impacts how the outcomes of these figures, what they are. And that's a testament to you and your faith, which has got you to where you are now. And granted, you can still have another stroke or mini stroke. I mean, that's always a possibility, but you have reduced your chances probably by 90% easily.
I'm praying about that.
Yeah, no, I think, I wouldn't. And what I would say, you live your life. Don't worry about that kind of thing. What you worry about is that you're doing all the right things that you're currently doing. Even with the shrimp, I mean, you don't have to feel like you got to cut it out completely, because what you consume is not always what's absorbed. So although there may be a fair amount of cholesterol in shrimp, it's sad to say you can't have that at all. What typically happens is people eat shrimp, but then they eat a bunch of other stuff like processed foods or other things that almost counteract what the shrimp itself would do for you, because again, that's more of a protein. The carbohydrates can get people in trouble as it relates to cholesterol levels. And the reason I bring that up, a few years ago, I don't know if you've heard of like the Atkins diet,
yes,
that low cholesterol,
all the meat,
low carbohydrate. Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of people were, certain dietitians and nutritionists would get all up in arms about all that you die on this diet, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, well, people have been doing worse than live to tell the tale. I said, there's no safety data that was out there with that. So I'm like, until you show me bad safety data, you can't tell me this is good or bad. You can tell me you don't know. So there was a head-to-head study that was done. This was probably about maybe 15 years ago, comparing low carb diets versus low calorie diets. And they looked at safety, efficacy, weight loss, and cholesterol levels. And interestingly, those people who were on the Atkins diet, which was a meat protein kind of thing, had lower cholesterols than the people that were on a low calorie diet, because the low carb diet, those carbohydrates impact cholesterol too, and can be more impactful than just cutting the cholesterol out. So I think what you'll find with yourself, because you're exercising, you cut out of certain types of foods, and you're eating a much healthier diet, that's why your cholesterol drops so much, partly because of the medicine, but partly because of your lifestyle. So keep up the good.
Thank you. I've lost 10 pounds. I lost 4 before the
incident. You ain't really need to lose any weight. I don't want you.
Yes, I did.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that one, Sebrina. I mean, I'm gonna tell you, don't want you looking kind of like I want you to be healthy, but don't get anorexic on me, okay?
Oh no, no. I just want to keep fitting in my clothing. But I have a question from James Holman. But before I do, I want you to go ahead and get into the blood pressure.
Okay.
It's, whatever you want to share about blood pressure.
So, let's start off with some basic understanding. And I run into a lot of people who have a misunderstanding of hypertension and what that means. So hypertension is a chronic illness. It suggests that your blood pressure is elevated. Now, what's the definition? Well, if you look at top and bottom numbers, which is the systolic and diastolic blood pressure figures, systolic is your top number, diastolic is your bottom. A definition of an elevated blood pressure is if your top number is 120 to 129. That's considered an elevated blood pressure, just so everybody's clear. I know a lot of people would think that, oh, that's a great blood pressure. Whereas it's really truly an elevated blood pressure. If your pressure is 80 or less and your top number is 120, 129, that's considered elevated blood pressure. Pressure for 130 to 139 or a bottom number between 80 and 89. That's any combination. If you're 120 over 84, that's stage 1 hypertension. If you're 135 over 70, that's stage 1 hypertension. So now, of course, you're 135 over 88, that's stage 1 hypertension. Stage 2 is if your top number is 140 or higher, or if your bottom number is 90 or higher. So either one of those two is considered stage 2. Now, the important thing to understand is if you're a stage 2 hypertension, your relative risk for stroke, heart attack, heart failure, kidney failure is probably 4 times the normal population, just at 140. So I get a lot of people that would come to my office, their pressure is 144 and they're jumped up down. Oh, that's good for me. And I'm like, no, it's not good for anybody. That's still too high. And people say, well, if I go 130, I'm going to die. I'm like, no, you're not going to die. You're going to live your best life at 130 or less. I say, because when you look at the data, and the data is very clear about this, those are the things, those blood pressures that will help keep you around for a long time. Now, the issue with how food and lifestyle impacts those blood pressures. If you look at current data, and this is well documented in literature, if you cut your sodium down less than 2 grams a day, and that's not a lot of sodium, a teaspoon of salt is 2,300 milligrams of sodium, teaspoon of salt. So they're saying all your food all day long, if you're supposed to be less than 2 grams. So that will impact your blood pressure 5 to 7 points just by that alone. Then you talk about weight loss. A kilogram of weight loss can equate to 1 point drop in your blood pressure. A kilogram of weight is 2.2 pounds. So for every 2.2 pounds you lose, you can expect your pressure will drop a point. So that's on that. So that's addition to sodium restriction. Now, activity. You get exercise in 30 minutes, 5 days a week minimum. Now you're talking about an extra number, 5 to 7 points. Reducing alcohol intake is another 2 to 3 points. So you could actually, just on lifestyle alone, drop your pressure between 10 and 15 points, just on that alone, without a single pill you take. The problem, again, is getting people to follow that. They'll say they're following that when they're really not. So I think if you look at how your lifestyle impacts your health, significant. Same thing with diabetes. If you cut out the carbohydrates, cut out those sugars, your sugar will go down. Then take exercise on top of that. That's going to improve your health as well. So what you're doing, you've combined both diet and exercise and weight loss to achieve the goals. And you will be a prime example of how what you have done impacts your life in a positive way.
Thank you so very much. I'm honored to be able to give such a report to encourage anyone. And, I want to get to this question from Erica, then I'm going to do James Holman. Everyone, I do have questions for Dr. Newby, but this is your opportunity to ask questions because he's very busy. And so I brought him here to give information, but also to get your questions answered because we're here for the community. And he has a community project that's coming up that's quite unique. But Erica Jones is asking, is there testing that can be done to make sure there is no other underlying issue that causes high blood pressure, or does she have to believe there is no other cure because it can be hereditary?
Well, I think that there are a couple of things with that. One is you have to look at your you as a person, what are your relative risks? Do you have a family history of hypertension? Are you overweight or obese? What's your lifestyle like? What types of foods you eat? Your lifestyle impacts. So yes, there's definitely a hereditary portion with hypertension, but it can be modified based on your lifestyle. In terms of other medical conditions or what we call secondary causes of hypertension, you have to look for things like renal artery stenosis, sleep apnea, adrenal gland disorders. If your adrenal gland is hyperactive, meaning your adrenal gland is part of your endocrine system, so that's part of that regulation for temperature. Like people that perspire a lot versus not, the things that control kind of your balance in your system is like your pancreas for blood sugar, thyroid levels for metabolism, adrenal gland, which helps in terms of production of things like your steroid production in your body. That's part of your endocrine system. If your adrenal gland is overactive, that's a common secondary cause of hypertension, and we see it in a lot in African American women. Interestingly, why we don't know. But if that is discovered, that's medical management. So there are certain tests that can be done that can help define that. What I typically do and recommend to people is if you have a family history of hypertension, you may be stuck with a genetic predisposition. However, how you live your life can impact more than anything else. So if you are kind of wondering, do I have another potential reason? I wouldn't chase behind the secondary causes immediately. I would say, look at your lifestyle first. What are the things you're doing? And live in reality. Don't live in fantasy. I mean, listen, I'm on back on my diet because I'm trying to be like you. I'm on my mission. I'm gonna try to drop 30 in the next 4 or 5 months, and I can do it. I've done it before. I'll do it again. Motivation is key, but I recognize that I can make some changes, even myself. So a lot of times getting people to understand that the things they do are not good for them, that's a difficult thing. If somebody is like really overweight and they come to me and they're saying, "Oh, doc, I live a good life. I eat healthy." I said, "But you're not living that life the way you say, because look at where your weight is comparatively speaking." And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm just keeping the reality that people have to be willing to look at themselves and say, "Okay, I have an issue I need to address." And don't try to live in fantasy thinking that what you're doing is okay. And I think that's the difference. That's why I'm really giving you your props tonight, because you're different from most. Most people don't do the things you've done, but the reward is there. So to answer her question, those secondary causes of hypertension, I would look at if we find that, say somebody's trying to regulate your blood pressure and they're having difficulty doing it. You're taking your meds like you're supposed to, you're living the lifestyle, but your blood pressures are still not well controlled. Then I look for secondary causes. But I think if you look primarily at your lifestyle, you will be able to improve your situation just on lifestyle change alone, to the point where you may not need medicine. I can't promise that, but your chances are a lot higher if you're not if you're doing all the right things.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I shared it before. My grandmother had a heart attack. My mom had heart disease for 20 years. My uncle died from a heart attack. Both my uncle and my grandmother just died. I mean, they didn't go to hospital. They just died, while they were moving.
Yeah.
And my sister had a stroke. So when I heard mini stroke, I can't see, it's not just, I looked at everything. I looked at genetics. I looked at all. So that's why I was really traumatized by it, because I knew that there was some history of it in my family. But I do want to make sure I share, and I'm going to get to James's question, then Rita's question next. I do want to share with everyone that you're doing something very unique, the Community Harvest Market, celebrating health and wellness. And the tagline is cultivating wellness together. So tell us about it. I have the date here. Mark your calendar, everyone. It's July 15th from 9 to 12. And it's a location that we all know about, the Scope Arena parking lot at the corner of Bremerton and St. Paul. But tell us about it, Dr. Newby.
So essentially, my foundation, we are trying to figure out how do we help people live that best life? How do we help guide them to say, you can have foods that taste good, but they don't have to be getting you to see somebody like me, as a patient. And that has been the most difficult thing we've done. If you go to like the grocery stores now, buy vegetables, they probably go bad 2 days later because
Mm-hmm.
how they're growing things now is all about, steroiding stuff up and trying to make it bigger and better. But we've we contacted a group of farmers, an African American farmer group consortium out of Northern Virginia, kind of Charlottesville area, who were looking to become a part of the marketplace here. So I said, well, this would be a good introduction. They came and brought some of their wares down. These guys, I mean, I had to give them credit. This is some of the best looking vegetables I've ever seen in my life. And I just said, listen, this would be a good intro. What we wanted to do is have cooking demonstrations there. We're going to have a Zumba class. We're going to be showing people uh, how to cook these vegetables in a way that's going to be healthy. We're going to have QR codes there at different stations. If you're buying, like say as example, because we got a bunch of good stuff there. We're going to have squash, sweet potatoes, broccoli, radishes, zucchini, snow peas, snap peas, got all kinds of peppers, tomatoes, all this stuff, lettuce. But turnip greens, collard greens, watermelons, fruits, we got all kinds of stuff going to be there. And what we're going to do is have ways that, like I say, if you have a QR code that we're going to have at these different stations, if you kind of activate that, we'll have recipes for how to cook this in the best way. So we're going to have live demonstrations there, smoothies there, health screenings. We're going to play some games while we're there. We're going to have a couple of contests. We're doing a corn shucking contest, which I've never done, but it looked fun. So we're going to try to put that on because we want to demonstrate how to live that life in a way that's going to give you that longest potential outcome, the best potential outcome. So that's kind of this format. We wanted to kind of throw it out there. We're going to try to make it fun, but make it healthy, make it exciting, and just give people that opportunity to say, how do we get fresh vegetables and fruits that are going to be good, B, they're going to have a little longer shelf life. So we want
Mm-hmm.
people to be able to get that and won't have to worry about being dead 2 days later. And I mean, because these guys brought some stuff down. I think it had some corn on the cob, and there was a couple other things, I think some broccoli they brought down, and it lasted like a week and a half. I was like, man, I mean, it was, I'm used to, like, got to eat it quick because it's going to be gone 2 days later. But this stuff was actually really good, fresh looking produce. So that's kind of our focus. It's going to be kind of this thing we're looking at a 4-H. I don't know, you remember 4-H when we were in school, but health,
Mm-hmm.
harvest, help, and hope for the community.
Yeah.
And that's really what we're going to be doing there.
I know we have some questions coming in. I'm going to give one from James Holman. I see one from Rita, and I think Dr. Angela Redis has a question. So I did this for y'all because I got plenty of questions for him, but I want you all to get your questions answered. So James Holman is asking, he says, Dr. Newby, I have 19 stents and I'm on several medications for his heart.
Mm-hmm.
His cardiologist suggested the Mediterranean diet with no red meat. So I know you talked about that last week and you think it's a good thing. So go ahead and give your
Yeah.
advice.
So the Mediterranean diet is probably the most heart healthy. Is a balance of good type of carbohydrates. You use a lot of olive oil and things like that. You see like olives and different types of, whether it's the it's complex carbohydrates versus some of this processed stuff that we get out of the stores. That is the most heart healthy diet you can have. I don't remember. I have to look back, but I don't remember it was a meat free, like meaning red meat free diet, and it very well could be. I just don't remember the detail about that. But I know in terms of, you look at what diets are the most heart healthy, that's number one. The DASH diet is number two. But I think Mediterranean is the best one. If you have 19 stents, that suggests to me that you have some propensity for this. Now, when I say propensity, I mean there's some probably genetic predisposition in you that's driving that ship. So really cracking down on yourself in terms of what you eat, make sure you're staying active. Uh, Look at your surroundings. What's your stress level like in your life, what other factors could be a contributor, and try to eliminate all the bad stuff. And I would almost, I cannot make guarantees, only Jesus can do that, but I can tell you statistically that your risks would be markedly lower by following that diet and then the lifestyle that accompanies this. And that's the part you have to make sure you're doing is the whole program, not just part of it, but the whole program. But I do agree the Mediterranean is the most heart healthy.
Excellent. I want to ask you this before I get to Rita's question. And
Mm.
I see your questions coming in, by the way, everyone. So stay tuned. I want to, we need I like how you're keeping it real.
Mm.
I can go to any doctor of any ethnicity, but there's something about relating to someone who understands the risks of the African American culture. So, how relevant do you think it is to have African American doctors, and where are we trending with that?
Unfortunately, so it's not a positive trend. I think a large part of it is the cost of medical education. We really need more scholarships. I was a little disappointed, not surprised at that Supreme Court decision. I don't know if you saw that today, where their Supreme Court kind of is now saying that you cannot use race as a factor in college admissions. I think that's a mistake. And the reason I say that, I don't think anybody wants a handout. But if you look at, go back far in how our culture has come about, some of us were blessed to have parents, family members who were educated and geared us to a higher place and higher desire to be educated. Everybody doesn't have that ability or have that family background. Think about all the shortfalls that we have had, and adversities we've had to face as a people. So we don't have that background that allows us to have equal opportunity as other groups of people have had. So I don't look at affirmative action as a handout. I, there's a difference between equality and equity. And to me, I looked at affirmative action as more of an equity. So that's giving people an opportunity that other people don't have. That privilege factor is a big deal. And other groups have had privilege. Because I look at what's the difference between a Harvard legacy admission versus affirmative action admission. I don't see any difference between that. If I give Harvard $20 million to build a building, and my kid gets to go there because I'm donating money, I don't understand what's the difference. To me, that's worse, because at least the kid that wants to go to school, he's wanting to go because he wants to earn. He may not have the money to go, but that's anyway. I digress. You can see I have a passion about that.
No, I agree with you though.
But the problem is that if you don't have that opportunity, which a lot of us as African American men and women don't have the money to go to medical school, because that stuff is, listen, college. I'm a Duke grad from my cardiology training. Duke undergrad is like $60K a year, undergrad. So you can imagine what medical school is. That's going to be more expensive. So you come out of school with a debt of $300,000-400,000, close to it. I mean, how are you going to pay all that back? So that's why a lot of people don't want to go into medicine, because they got to pay so much money, when they finish, and it's just it's too tough for a lot of people. So we see a decrease in the number of African American people that want to go to medical school. To answer your final question about importance, I think it's very important, because think about this: everything about medicine is about trust. If you think about who are you going to be able to tell your problems to, you want to tell the people who understand the culture, and you can share your life experiences with, and that person understand those life experiences because they probably went through it themselves. That's going to build a trust and bond relationship that we need in order to really take care of patients. And if we don't have that, then you're not going to have that same trust with that individual that you're dealing with, who may not be of the background that you feel comfortable talking to. So I'm fully 100% on board with saying, if we had more African American physicians, I think that would be better for our people. Unfortunately, so I mean, we got to get past the money part, and that's the part that I think we need. If we need to push anything, is more scholarship dollars going to African American men and women, so they can have those opportunities to go to medical school and not have a ridiculous amount of debt coming out. So I think it's extremely important.
I was just having a conversation. Dr. Redis was, just schooling me on some things that are going on with that initiative I mean, even with our, and I'm not going to, I know you're Greek as well, but even with the Divine Nine,
Yeah.
and what they're doing with the schools. And it's just unbelievable to me. But I do want to get to her question. So Dr. Redis is asking, where is the best place to purchase the best vegetables? I guess after they leave where they were grown.
Yeah, I think if you look at, I'm a firm believer in these farmers markets, which is why we're
Hmm.
talking about doing that, to have the absolute freshness. Because I'll be honest with you, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all, but I do have some concerns when I see, when I was growing up, you go to a grocery store and you buy a bell pepper. I mean, them things were like this big, I mean, now they this big. And,
Yeah.
and you kind of say, wait, hold up. I mean, they genetically engineering things. I don't know if you saw that they got fake chicken. I don't know if you saw that, but they actually have
Wait, chicken?
they
No.
have actually genetically created chicken that they're genetically creating. It's almost like a what's the thing when you clone people,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
but I mean the actual meat is being developed.
Oh, that's scary.
And so I mean, because I was laughing at my wife Peggy, she we were we went to New York last week. It was my birthday last week, so I went out of town for a couple of days, and she found that article, so she shared it with me. I was like, I said, this goes to show where they're taking things, and she's like, that won't be a dish I want to eat, and I can understand that,
Hmm.
So to be honest with you, anytime you can find a farmer's market, and a lot of places in Norfolk, they have them almost every couple of weeks. And we're going to be one of the ones that at least start this process up, that give you that, like from the ground to the table, where
Hmm.
you can actually get something have been sitting around somewhere for weeks or months in some storehouse in the refrigerator, and then it comes to you. I am a firm believer in that. I think that would give you the absolute best. And if you grow your own, I mean, Peggy grows her own.
That's right.
So she has her own self-contained garden that she keeps in the house, and we've been putting them in school systems. That's one of the other things we're doing with the Newby Foundation, is developing, trying to help teach the young kids how to grow their own vegetables. So to me, I think that what you create yourself, or grow yourself, is always going to be better than what you get out the store.
Right. You're getting it right from you. And I was going to bring that up. By the way, I want to say hello, shout out to girlfriend Peggy. Peggy, you got to come on here and join us someday in the
I
studio.
know you get her, get her.
I,
Listen, Dr.
Peggy,
Reddick knows her really well.
yeah, yeah. Come on in here and join us in the studio, because I like what she's doing with the initiative with the pods. So
Yes.
the schools, you shared that with us in the last interview. And I have a follow-up question from Angela Reddish. She's asking, or she's saying, organic vegetables and fruit are so expensive. And we know this because I love organic. But what programs are available to help those on a fixed income or lower income?
Well, I think if you look at, like, if you have some of these farmers markets, like the one we're going to have in a couple of weeks, if you're like what they call that SNAP program, where you have the EBT cards, I think it
Oh,
is,
yes, yes.
a lot of these farmers markets accepts those, so you can actually get the vegetables. And the cost is actually, these wholesale prices are actually very good that we're going to have. So I think if you shop the farmers markets, I think you will get the best, because I agree with Dr. Reddick that this, I mean, you go to a store and organics like twice as much, and that shouldn't be the case. I mean, it's just like, it can be very frustrating when you're trying to eat healthy, you're trying to live that life that you need to live, but then it costs you $1 million to do it. And you're like, wait a minute, this is not right. I could go to McDonald's and get a dollar value meal, and feed a family of four, but then you're killing yourself in the process. So we have to find ways of making it more accessible to everyone. Now, not just any individual, but everyone should have equal opportunity to get the foods they need, without feeling like they're going to either go broke doing it and then choose the wrong things, or they just can't afford it. So
Can't
that's
afford.
that's so I think shopping those farmers markets is one way, and I would encourage it. And most of them, they do have them. For the most part, I think there are two in Norfolk now that go on every couple of weeks. So we're going to be the third one. So I mean, you could pretty much, time it where you could go to one place every week and get what you need. Without, now of course your winter time is a little different, because the guys pretty much grow this stuff between May and September or October. But I think if you look at, that timing it right, you can pretty much get what you want without feeling like you're going broke in the process, and you can still get the healthy fruits and vegetables that you need.
Thank you so very much. This next question relates to me because I am on a baby aspirin. Of course,
Okay.
I mentioned the statins, but I'm on a baby aspirin every day. I don't know who asked the question. So I just want to remind everyone, if you want your name to show up, it should be in this live. I know it was in the announcement. You click on the StreamYard link and you give StreamYard permission to show your name. But this person says, good evening. They have a question about a supplement.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to know, are cardiologists still recommending the daily baby aspirin and fish oil?
No, not. It depends. Aspirin. If you look at the data on aspirin, people were doing it, but there was no data to support it. Unless you had established heart disease, if you had like yourself had a mini stroke, some vascular event, aspirin was never meant to be a primary preventative tool. People were doing it, but it was never meant to be that way. It was always secondary prevention. If you had an event, established heart disease or coronary disease, established stroke, peripheral vascular disease, then the data was clear that aspirin helped prevent secondary events from occurring. But there was never data to support it as a primary preventative tool. So, and if you look at, as you get older, especially if you're over 65, then they're recommending not being on aspirin at all unless you really have a good reason to be on it because of the potential gastrointestinal bleeding risk. So we're using other meds for those patients. Like I use a lot of Plavix, which is a kind of aspirin-like medication. It does help with stroke prevention. It's approved for that, but it doesn't have all the GI side effects that aspirin could have. And fish oil was never ever. I've never recommended fish oil to people because there was no data to support it. I've never seen any. They were kind of like people were doing it and recommending it, but there was no supportive data that said it was help prevents anything. So now the recommendations are not that because they now have studies that show it didn't do much of anything. So I tell people that I don't think the supplements are as important as your lifestyle. What do you do for yourself that puts you in the best light? That to me supersedes any supplements you can take. Make sure you're exercising regularly. Make sure you're clean air. Make sure you're eating appropriately, getting your water in like you're doing. That's what I'm saying. You are like my poster child for good health. If I could clone you, and I must hate to say that word, as we talk about that chicken, but if I could take your personality and plant it in everybody else, do you know how many lives we could save? It's just
Praise
phenomenal.
God. I'm telling you, Dr. Newby, I am overjoyed, everyone. And I just want to keep it up because my main motivation has been probably all of us weight loss, but it's more than weight. We got to do it for the body.
Yeah.
We have to do it for more than the exterior. We have to do it for the body. Now I had that banner here. Here it is. The community's I've been asked to post the date, the event. So Community Harvest Market, Saturday, July 15th. I'm going to be out there at 9 o'clock because I want to see those vegetables. 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. Yeah. And how often are you going to do it? Are you just trying to see how the community responds?
Yeah, the first one we want to do is we want to see what the response is. And once we've seen the response, then we'll decide, we're going to make sure it happens frequently. But this one-off, I wanted to make sure people got the information they needed, understand the importance of that. Because my pastor is Jerry Holmes over First Baptist Butte Street, and he and I are going to be co-hosting this together. So we're going to have some fun out there with it, and we're going to play off each other because that's what we do. We just have an excellent relationship. And, we want to give people the information they need, but we want to have fun doing it. This is going to be a fun event. It's not going to be boring. We're not trying to talk people half to death and say a bunch of stuff they don't need to hear. It's going to be informational driven. I've asked Centera to come out to do blood pressure checks and some cholesterol checks and glucose checks because we want people to identify if they have a health issue or at risk. That's a good place to find out. So we are actually going to do everything we can to promote a healthy lifestyle and to give people that which they can have that's going to be good for them. I mean, we want them to know like what types of vegetables, what types of fruits are better for you. Yeah, because some people eat a lot of bananas. They're high in sugar. Mangoes probably the highest sugar fruit there is. Grapes. People love grapes, but they're putting calories in there versus focusing on the berries, the antioxidant things, the berries, the like blackberries, raspberries, blueberries. Those are lower sugar fruits, better for you from several factors. But if you don't know that, you won't know that. So we want to make sure you understand how to shop. What are the things you need to look for? What are the things you should focus on? A lot of times the berries aren't as sweet. Have a little whipped cream on it. You'd be surprised. Whipped cream is low in
Yeah.
carbohydrate,
Hmm.
and it has that sweet flavor to it that will give you that what you need to make it a better blend for yourself. So, but you just have to understand that and hear that so you'll know this is something you can do.
Now, I have a question. Thank you, Dr. Newby. I have a question I don't know all of the question. I think it's cut off. I think there was something there, but it's about CoQ10. Do you know what that could be?
Yeah, that's a supplement. Some people use CoQ10 with it's kind of like an antioxidant in a way, but they use it for like the people on statins that have side effects from statins, the muscle cramps and what have you. There is some information that says if you're on this that it'll have less. You can temper the side effects of the statins. Some people will say that if you take this, it'll help prevent coronary disease, but there's no data to support that either. Not really. So I don't. I tell people, I say I really don't think the supplements are as helpful as people like to think they are. I don't tell people don't use them. If that's your thing, go for it. But I want to always make sure people understand that it's not the supplements that's going to help you; it's the lifestyle that's going to help you mostly.
Right.
There is some anecdotal data that says that CoQ10 will help with the side effect profile. Some people say it can help with some preventative aspects of coronary disease, but there's no strong supportive data to that, and I'm a Duke guy, I'm data driven, I have to, you got to show me the money, so to speak, I got to see it and I have to look at the data and the information to make sure I'm advising people correctly. If it's in the literature and it comes, our governing body is the American College of Cardiology. That's where all our guidelines come from. How to treat coronary disease, how to treat strokes, how to treat heart failure is all given to us based on data in the literature. So we follow that, and that's how we come up with recommendations.
Excellent. I want to give a shout out to a long-term sponsor of Girlfriends Tea since I've started talk show. Dina Eaton, CEO of Ivy Hill Tech, has been sponsoring Girlfriends Tea since the onset. So thank you, Dina Eaton. And I want to remind everyone to follow Girlfriends Tea with Sebrina on YouTube. If you're not following on the Facebook page, follow us on YouTube and catch all of our episodes. Subscribe to our channel, please. And that we also support ourselves by way of our luxury tea. And I'm going to be dropping some off to you and Peggy because girlfriend Peggy hasn't tried it yet. So you need to go on and buy about 10 bags for her. But at any rate, we're going to be partnering, girlfriends. Look at Dr. Newby. We're going to be partnering with Dr. Newby. We're going to talk about how we can partner together. But whatever he does like this, I would disseminate in the group so that we can be informed. So that's part of the partnership. Just communication. Just communication. And I want to announce that I go to Dr. Newby on July 14th. He's going to be my cardiologist.
That's what I'm saying. I can't help. Your level of enthusiasm never ceases to amaze me. I tell you, you make me smile every time I hear your name.
I tell you. Well, look, I have to tell everyone. My mom, for those who didn't see the first interview, my mom and my stepfather went to you and they trusted you. So I can't describe it, you all. I was in tears. I went live in the Girlfriends Tea group and I was in tears because I asked God to do a shock and awe with the cholesterol because honestly, I was traumatized by it because I've been healthy overall. And I kept saying, how did I get here? And he's like, you know how you got there? You saw that gut around your belly and you knew that the waistline determines the risk for heart disease. You didn't work out for 3 years in a row. And you weren't drinking your water. And I'm not saying that was the reason, but those are factors that I can eliminate.
Yeah.
Other than the hereditary portion. So when you were talking about the farmers market, we have a question here, and I can't see the person's name because they didn't give StreamYard permission. So they're asking, are you saying that Whole Foods and Trader Joe's are not good for selecting food?
No, I don't want to say that, because that would be, I think, inappropriate on my part. I think you have to kind of gauge it based on what you see and what you recognize. I'm saying that, where these places get their produce from, I don't know, and it could be very, very good. I mean, I can't say that. What I can say is this: from the ground to the table, I think is always better, because
Yeah.
you know what you're getting. You get, and a lot of times, you can look at the quality and you could tell the quality of this stuff. And I would say you do your own research. You check out some of these farmers markets. You look at like Trader Joe's or Whole Foods. I just know a lot of those places are going to be a little bit more expensive for obvious reasons. So you
Hmm.
just have to be careful with that. But I say, listen, you go for what you know. I've never said it was bad. I would never say that. I just want you to make sure whatever your choices are, wherever you get your produce from, that you feel comfortable that that is your absolute best choice. And I say go for it.
Dr. Redis is saying that we need the community. We need to bring our seniors and kids, and she's going to bring her ELG girls and families. So this is a big deal, y'all. I mean, this is a big deal. We can't all have our own garden unless we get a pod. And I need to get a pod because some people have some great stories about that pod. It's amazing to grow your own vegetables, right? You know what's in it. You know you didn't put any pesticides in it, and you get to harvest it.
And I think I'm gonna talk Peggy into doing one of these with you, because she can actually demonstrate and show you kind of how it's done, the advantages of it. It's really not expensive for what you get out of it. Because I'm gonna tell you, when that young lady starts growing that stuff, I mean, she's like, like in the full harvest mode. I mean, she's pulling off lettuce, she's pulling off cucumbers, she's pulling off tomatoes.
Mm.
I mean, just she can do some stuff. She has like 5 different types of lettuce that she grows. It's just amazing when I've watched what she has produced off of that garden. And if you keep it up, I mean, you can have an ongoing all year round deal for not that much money. So I'm like, go for it. She made me a believer, because we used to have these contests every summer, who's gonna grow, because I'm in the ground. She's growing it from her tower garden,
Hmm.
and she kind of kicked my tail a few times. I won't go into detail on that one, but I had to stand down to her expertise. And she did a good job. But again, it saved us a ton of money long term, because that stuff is expensive in these stores.
It is expensive. My friend Connie, she has a pod, and she was, oh my gosh, she was so excited about it. She said, Sabrina's already saving me money. So it's worth the investment. So regarding the event, Benita, Clay Davis, and Double Brown are asking the same question. Is there a flyer? I know that Lisa, your assistant
Yeah.
Lisa, sent me the information, but is there a flyer, a JPEG that I can pass to the girlfriends?
Yeah, let me have my crew created it. We had a meeting last night about it, and I know I saw the tentative one that was very good. Let me have Lisa get that to you tomorrow, and then
Okay,
you can
sounds good.
post it. Yeah,
It's coming, girlfriends. We need to go out in full force. And I'm not criticizing us. We know what we do for concerts, but we're talking about food, good, healthy food for our body. And just we need to really start weighing and appreciating information about health and not just disregarding it. I mean, this is food. We love to eat. So let's just turn our tummies on to veggies. Because if we eat it, we'll crave it, right, Dr. Newby?
absolutely. And you'll be surprised how that's changing that lifestyle, changing how you handle just day to day. Think about like people that get depressed or have high anxiety. I'm not saying that what we eat can control that, but it does impact that. Think about when you're at your best, how you feel internally. Because if you feel good internally, that outward appearance is going to be there. And unfortunately, so how we even deal with stress in our life, just eating the wrong foods can really kind of it can hinder your ability to deal with even stressful situations better. So I think if we look at a full on program, and not just what you eat, but the rest of your lifestyle, you can't sit and say, okay, I'm gonna eat this healthy meal, but I'm gonna go sneak this unhealthy meal. And I'm not saying that you should never eat unhealthy stuff. I mean, sometimes you want what you want, but you need to balance it out where you may say, okay, I'm gonna reward myself after 2 weeks of doing what I'm supposed to do, and I'm gonna have one day I'm gonna eat some things that I know are probably not good for me, but I just want it. And then you go back to your healthy lifestyle again, because life shouldn't be like a bad thing. It's just a matter of finding out what you like. And I think that's where the exploration comes in. You have to say, okay, you try different things, figure out what turns you on, what things that you like, and stick to that, but you got to try it before you write it off, and
Mm-hmm.
you'll be surprised. I mean, you may really get into something, and then you can, if you can get your family into it with you, then that's how, I would say like this: look at life expectancy, African Americans versus whites. It's like a 10-year difference between life expectancy. And why is that? Because of lifestyle, access. You ever hear that term? I think I may have mentioned this term last time. I can't remember. We talk about
Yep.
social determinants of health,
Yep.
income differences, food insecurity,
Food
housing
insecurity.
insecurity.
Yep. You talked
You know,
about that.
all these things that impact, stress levels go up. So where we live, are we in an environment where you got environmental factors around? Of course, they always like to push the brothers and the sisters around factories so we could breathe in all that bad stuff, but we had to be able to recognize things and say, okay, how do we work around those um, adversities to get
Mm-hmm.
in a better place? But you have to be able to recognize it. But if we can fight those social determinants, you would be surprised how that impacts. And I would give it to you like this: what leads to hypertension? What you eat, stress levels in your life, obesity, genetics.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're food insecure, that means you have less money to pay for food. If your house is secure, that means you're spending more than 30% of your income on your house. So that means that gives you less income to do other things, to shop like you're supposed to have access to the doctor, which means your health's going to go down because you're going to choose those dollar value meals at McDonald's versus something that may be a little bit more healthy. So we have a lot of work to do, within our community. We can get there. We had to first stop shooting each other, start
Yeah.
killing ourselves and each other, and start saying there's more to life than trying to see who's the baddest dude on the corner, and that's what other groups want us to do. So we kill ourselves early. I'm tired of that. I want to see us living the life the way God intended, which is that we love our brothers and sisters, and we're healthy, we're happy, and we're doing things that are going to be in our best interest and our family's best interest. Start praying more, people. Go to church, do something. We need to do better, and that's my role as a provider, is to help. I want to help you be at your best. That's really what this is all about. That's what God put me on this earth to do, is to help. And if I can do what I need to do to feel like I've helped, then because I'm trying to score points with the big man. I mean,
Yeah.
I want him to say, well done, when it's my time. So I'm hoping that people on this program hear what I'm trying to do. And it really is earnest. And everybody that knows me knows how I am. It's all about other people. I'll get mine later. Hopefully,
Mhm.
if I'm faithful, I'm gonna get mine later. For right now, the world's about all you all are on this program, and our families and our loved ones.
Well, Dr. Newby, we sincerely appreciate you. It all every educated doctor who means well is good, but there's something about, and it's okay. There's something about that connection, that relevancy, and being able to really have the freedom to tell us like it is, because we don't get offended because we know you know what time it is. We can't bluff you, you know.
Oh, Peggy's up here.
Peggy's here.
She just posted something on Facebook, the Eventbrite for the.
Okay, for the event. You just froze up. I think he went to the Facebook. That's why.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So it's on your page.
Well, yeah, well, I don't know where I see it on the comment section over here. So
Okay.
she's like higher up on there. I see her
Oh,
name.
I see
See
it.
it?
Here it is. Click and grow products. Okay. Is this it? Click and grow. I don't know. Is this what
No,
Peggy?
I said the www.eventbrite.com. That's for the community harvest
Okay.
program.
There it is.
You
Peggy.
got
Oh,
it.
there you go, girlfriend Peggy.
There
We
you
got
go.
you. So what we're gonna do is put that in girlfriend's tea. So
That's a
she's gonna
beautiful,
put.
that's a beautiful woman there. Show her
Oh
again.
yeah, let me show again. Come on, Peggy.
There
Come
you go.
on.
That's what I'm talking about. So
I love it. I love it. So I want to remind everyone that we're partnering with Dr. Newby. So we got some questions. I'm gonna try to get to them. May not get to them all. Somebody said, "What about pineapple?" I'm gonna include that one with. Someone says their functional doctor said that smoothies are not good for us because our body's trying to process too much at once. Is that true? And I think they're talking about how it hits your sugar quickly. Glycemic instead of being a whole fruit.
well, I think it depends on what you put in it.
Okay.
I mean, I think smoothies can be very healthy. It depends. Pineapple, unfortunately, is a high sugar fruit.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I think if you look at more of the berries in there, I don't think. I mean, I think smoothies can be extremely healthy. It's just a matter of what you put in it. If you go put 2 tons of sugar in it, processed sugar and stuff, then you kind of defeat the whole point. But I think that smoothies can be extremely healthy. It just depends on what you put in it.
Okay. And another question from Rita Smith Dove. Can cholesterol be genetic and hereditary also if you are eating healthy and exercising regularly, especially?
Genetics definitely can play a factor with cholesterol levels. Your liver is where cholesterol is produced. So if you have some genetic predisposition that puts you at higher risk for producing more, that's where your lifestyle has to be more attuned than other people's. But it can be addressed. Um, it can be addressed, but you just have to put forth the time and effort to say, okay, I do have this genetic predisposition, and your doctor can help you determine that just based on your numbers. So, and if you do have that genetic predisposition, then you say, okay, I have to figure out how do I work around that. That may involve medicine, that may involve changing your lifestyle a little bit more, but that's where your doctor comes in and help you direct that to so you can deal with it better, and still don't feel like it's a death sentence, because it's not. I know a lot of people that
Right.
have genetically predisposition high cholesterols, but they do fine because they change their lifestyle around.
Well, this is one thing I want to task everybody attached to Girlfriend's Tea. I'm gonna put the event up that girlfriend Peggy, because she's a girlfriend. We've inducted her. Girlfriend Peggy put it up. I'm gonna put it up. I want you to share it. I want you to share it, and I want you to tag folks. I'm serious, y'all. We have someone here who understands our dilemma, and we have the opportunity to bring the information to the table. So we can't just talk about what's not happening. We want to be about something, which is why I want to connect with, and I am connected with the Newby Foundation. I just found out, as I told you, Dr. Newby, I went to an event that Dr. Erica Jones told me about, and it's on the library, Broad Creek Library. Then I saw the Jordan Newby Library. I said, this is where we're going to have our meetings or whatever we're going to do with the girlfriends with Dr. Newby and Peggy. So congratulations on that. Do you want to tell us something about the name?
Well, essentially, that was, of course, Judge Jordan, who was a community activist back in the 60s and 70s. And my father, and the Newby part was a combination of my grandfather, who was James Sr., my father, who was James Jr., and my uncle, Thomas Newby, who was principal over Booker T. They kind of carved that name out to honor them. And the library was originally across from Booker T. Washington High School. That was the original library. And when they closed that one down, they were building the one in Broad Creek. They transferred the name to honor the area and the neighborhood for which, because my father grew up not too far away from there. He grew up on Marshall Avenue, which is right across from Booker T. So that was how that name came into being and how they chose that. So I looked at it as an honor to me, having family who were so into education and health. That was a legacy for me to follow. So I looked at it as a true honor to be a part of that.
Well, I know we have a question from Joyce Lanier, and she's asking, do you recommend yogurt as a healthy probiotic for diabetics?
Yeah, I think you just have to look at the amount of sugar in it, because they have different forms of yogurt out there, and there are some that are very good that are low carbohydrate And that's what I would recommend as a diabetic, because you don't want to eat really high processed sugars. And most of the yogurts are healthier, but you just have to pick the right one. And you have to try different ones because there are some that are better than others, that taste better than others. You have to find, again, that's what I was telling you earlier. You have to explore and find that which you like, and roll with that, because again, I've had many different yogurts. Some I like a lot, some of them I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pass on this one. And you just have to find what works for you. Just like a lot of people don't like, and there is information now about like the artificial sweeteners, tomato. A lot of people like them, some don't like them. I still like them personally. I'm a stevia type of person. But I do. There is data out here talking about some of the safety issues with it, but it's not confirmed to me yet. And I have to have good confirmed data for me to make any changes. But I would say that you don't want to. I mean, I think anything is artificial, you have to be a little careful with, and you don't want to make that like the staple of your diet. But I'm not ready to pull back on my stevia yet, personally, until I see more data that suggests I need to.
I saw that Peggy, your wife Peggy, laughed when I called her girlfriend Peggy, but she's girlfriend's Peggy. We've inducted her into the Hall of Girlfriends Tea. So I do want to ask one question I was going to get to. Okay, the fried chicken. And we love fried chicken. Okay. And this is not stereotypical because we know that we love fried chicken and watermelon. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the impact, Dr. Newby, of us eating a lot of the chicken? Because my girlfriend, she didn't go through med school, but she was in med school training. And she said she was shown all this skin in the heart from the chicken. Oh, I guess the heart vessel, you tell me.
Well, essentially, when you're frying something, I mean, the what goes into the frying. I don't know if see most people on this call are too young for Crisco. When I was growing up,
Oh no.
yeah,
I had Crisco. Yeah, we all Crisco, and they saved it. They saved it,
yeah,
2 days
yep,
later.
yep, yeah. Trust me, I know. So that stuff was high fat, and even with the canola oil and some of these other ones, low fat oils, they're better with. But the thing is, what you put in chicken, the way you have to prepare it, the flouring and all that. You're talking about the potential for increasing the atherosclerotic plaque in your vessels, and that's really what this is all about. So either broiling or grilling your chicken is better, um, but you got to be careful. Even with grilling, you don't want to be putting a bunch of salt stuff all on it because that just defeats the whole purpose. You season it right, and that's where I think you can learn from this community harvest. We're going to have people there talking about how to season food in a way that's not just all salt based, and to dispel that issue of Himalayan salt versus sea salt. Salt is all the same thing, So don't get fooled with that. But when you're eating fried chicken, of course, the amount of fat that you're going to consume, especially with the skin, you're going to increase the potential for higher cholesterol levels, which increases the risk of atherosclerotic plaque that builds in your arteries. And when that plaque grows in your arteries, what happens when it outgrows the blood supply that it can accommodate? Because when you get plaque, that's like getting inside. That's like if you take a Brillo pad, you rub it across your skin, you're going to tear your skin up after a while. That's the same thing that happens inside vessels. So when they heal, that's when you start getting plaque buildup. When it outgrows the blood supply because it's grown too big, it ruptures into the blood vessels, and that's deemed as an injury. Platelets like to come and clump on top of that, and if they grow, because you think about in the artery, it's a tube. It's a hollow tube that has nowhere to go. So if those clots start to build up and it closes off the vessel, hence heart attack, hence stroke. So those are things that can occur based on just our lifestyle. So that's why I bring up, you'd be surprised how you can impact it just by changing what you do. So and I'm not saying you should never have fried chicken, but you want to save that for after you've done, say, a month of doing right. Then maybe you have a day that you do something like that, then go right back to what you're supposed to be doing.
Well, I can tell you, like I said earlier, I I was so determined to get these numbers down. All I had was fish, y'all. I wasn't playing, y'all. I wasn't playing. I didn't expect it to be that much, but God, I'm saying for you publicly, you did your shock and awe, and you brought me to tears So Dr. Newby is my doctor. I'm going to visit him on July 14th for the first time. Peggy, I hope you're there. So, because I'm bringing y'all some tea, giving y'all some tea as a gift. Oh, you know I'm gonna push the tea. I'm gonna give y'all some tea as a gift because I got
Real
green
thing.
tea. Green tea is healthy for you too. You know that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well,
Green
Peggy
tea
loves
for.
her green. Yeah, Peggy loves her green tea.
Oh well, I got the best in the land. So Peggy,
Okay.
we're gonna give you some good tea. But I want to also ask. This is the last question. Should we wait until we have a problem? I mean, I know cardiologists are high, but if you just go to a cardiologist for a checkup, it's just an office visit. Do you think that we should have a cardiologist if we're concerned about something? I know we have to be referred if we have a problem, I guess.
Well, it depends on your insurance. Some insurances, if you have a PPO insurance, you go wherever you want to go. But I would say this: um, it kind of just depends. I look at every person as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
What I always tell people is look at look at yourself, your profile, understand your numbers. When I say your numbers, what's your blood pressure, what's your cholesterol, what's your glucose level, your kidney numbers, understand your personal health index. Once you understand that, then you can look at what's your risk. Somebody like me, I can help mitigate that risk because I'm trained to help mitigate that risk. How do I help you so that you don't show up in my emergency room having a heart
Mm-hmm.
attack one night? So I think you look at your profile now. If you got somebody who is like, say, a 20-year-old athlete who is got no body fat, cholesterol levels are great, blood pressure is great, I'm not going to say that person needs to come see me because they're already doing well. I think the first thing is always knowing yourself, your individual self. Second thing is having a physician that you feel you could trust. Now, if you don't have one that you could trust, get one that you could trust. And sometimes I know that could be difficult too. But if you say you don't have somebody you can trust, then somebody like me can help, because I can help steer you in the right direction. So it's really individualized. I don't think everybody needs a cardiologist straight up. It's
Okay.
definitely not the case. But I think if you notice if you have and what are risk factors? Well, high blood pressure or hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol levels, family history. If you're overweight or obese, and if you don't do if your most of your exercise is push the remote control button, I mean, you're going to be at some risk. As we get older, our risk goes up. For men, if you're getting over 40, with a bunch of risk factors, that's the difference. Women, if you start getting over 50 and get into the 60-year age range, your risks start to go up. So you have to be more attuned to your health. So you first understand yourself, and then I come in if you say, okay, I identify I do have some problems, and I need to get on top of that. I can help that. But do you need me right off the bat? No.
Okay. And okay, I'm before I close out, I did say fish. So Rita Smith Dove is saying she thought it was high in cholesterol, but Rita, I'm doing the salmon. So let me be specific. Omega fatty acids. I know that omega-3 fatty acids or whatever. And then my nutritionist told me, Dr. Newby, and we talked about this before the interview. She said you could do tuna, but you want to be sparingly with the big fish because they eat other fish. So she said you might want to. Is that true? I just know she told me
Well,
don't eat as much tuna as the salmon.
Well, I don't know if
I
that
mean,
part is true. I think you just have to look at this preparation, what it is
okay.
in this preparation. A lot of times what happens is we'll mess up. We know how to mess things up really good.
Oh my God.
I mean, we could take something good and make it really, really bad really quick. So I
Yeah.
think you have to look at what's added in that tuna fish. What are you doing with it? Are you sticking a bunch of stuff in it, or are you eating it in the way it was designed? And I think that is the first thing you have to ask yourself. So again, a lot of it is about understanding um, good health and good eating habits, and then I think you can make some of those decisions.
Well, I want to toast you. As I said before, thank you, Mama Peggy, for allowing Dr. Newby to come with us again. Because, girlfriends, this is a lifestyle change. We're going to be sticking with this. We have to be reminded of it. We have to be reminded of it. And we want to hold each other accountable. Check in with your partner. How are you doing with your health? Are you paying attention to your intake? So, my mantra has become because of this, know your numbers, know your intake. So, if you know your numbers, know your intake. So, my mantra has become because of this, know your numbers, know your intake. So, my mantra has become because of this, know your numbers, know your intake. So, my mantra has become because of this, know your numbers, know your intake. So, my mantra has become because of this, know your numbers, know your intake. So, my mantra has become because of this, know your numbers, know your intake. So, my mantra has become because of this, know your numbers, know your intake. So, my mantra has become because of this, know your numbers, know your intake. So, my mantra has become because of this, know your numbers, know your intake. So, my mantra has become because of this, know your numbers, know your intake. So, my mantra has become because of this, know your numbers, know your intake. So, my mantra has become because of this, know your numbers, know your intake. So, my mantra has become because of this, know your numbers, know your intake. So, my mantra has become because of this, know your numbers, know your intake. So, my mantra has become because of this, know your numbers, know your intake. So, my mantra has become because of this, know your numbers, know
Yeah.
Know your intake. Know what you're eating. Know what's on the labels. I try to eat mostly fresh. Period. I don't have canned vegetables.
Yeah.
I eat mostly fresh, but I'm just one person. I'm not somebody trying to raise 4 children.
Well, the thing is, even with that, the canned vegetables, of course, have a ton of sodium in it, in all likelihood. And watch out when somebody says low sodium. What does that mean? Low compared to what? You have to understand what that. These are marketing tools that they use to get you to buy their stuff, like the Cheerios. It's processed sugar. Oh, it's going to help lower your cholesterol. You notice how they'll say in commercials, it may lower your cholesterol.
Mm-hmm.
See that they know it ain't going to do squat, but they say that because they can say may, because it could, but they're not held accountable to that. They're trying to sell you something. So I always tell people, just watch your when you're making these choices, make them wisely. Get your understand, and that's where we come in as docs. Be careful on the internet.
Oh,
Internet
no.
is a unregulated tool, and if you go to the wrong source, you can get the wrong information, and that's not helping you. That's where your doc's supposed to come in. So I would say this: if you can come on July 15th, and I would definitely encourage it. You're going to get some good information. I think what I like what you're doing, Sebrina, you've approached me with this. One of the shortfalls I think we have as a people is our ability to network in the right way. Where we say, okay, what are the important things in life? And to me, life is important. Liberty is important. The pursuit of happiness is important. And I want us to be able to network our resources together. And that's where I think we have fallen short. We are more divided at times than ever. So I applaud you for what you're doing, because what you're trying to do is bring people together in a positive way.
Yes.
If we had more people like you, this world would be a much better place, without question in my mind. So I would encourage everyone on this, create that network. Let's make our lives better. We have the knowledge, we have the wherewithal. We just have to be able to pool our resources together to help our young kids, to really hopefully get us away from the violence that we have been inflicting on ourselves and others, and look at how do we live. And that's really what I want. So I applaud you. You talk about girlfriend's tea. Let me say, hats off to you. Hats off to you. I wish there were more people like you out here doing your thing. And I think there are. It's just we have to bring out that fire in people so that we do the things we need to do to help each other.
I know you can't say this, but Blendy Holder had said that you're already her cardiologist. So, and then I met someone getting my blood, and then we're going to thank you so much, Dr. Newby, for that. I met someone, her name is Penny. She drew my blood, and she said to remind you that she doesn't follow your instructions. She told me she had a heart attack, and she comes to you, but she's Penny. She's I guess you call it phlebotomist, but
Phlebotomist,
yeah, she's at Centera. I'll send you her picture. She was supposed to be here tonight, but she had class. Everyone, this was the people's interview tonight. I had a lot of questions. Dr. Newby would tell you that, but I set my questions aside because I wanted to make sure that we served you and getting your questions answered, because it's very hard to get with any professional, let alone especially a cardiologist. So we thank you for your time. And there are no girlfriends in the room, but I'll toast for you. So we say respectfully, guy friend, guy friend, you're a guy friend.
Well, and I'm more than happy to, if we need to do this again, to do another one. We get all your questions answered. I mean, anything I can do to help my community, I'm going to do. And listen, I'm here to help. So
I'd like to see us do something every 6 weeks to every 2 months, because I don't want it to get mundane.
Yes.
The interview we can do, but I'm talking about where we're in person at the Newby, Jordan Newby Library or wherever, and we get together. But remind everyone about how they can help volunteer at the office with you and Peggy. This number you gave last time, is this the right number?
No, I don't know that one.
Oh, that's somebody else's number. I'm sorry.
Yeah, let me get the best way to do that, because I may have to go to our website. I will post that to you if you would pass it on to everyone, and I have Lisa get with you on that one, because I let her run that show.
Okay, so that's the Newby Foundation?
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
if you go to newbyfoundation.org, and I think that's our website. I'm pretty sure that's
I
what it
have
is.
it. Yes, I already had it
Yeah.
on here. I've been
Yeah,
flashing
so I
on.
think if you go there, we'll have, and we're redoing our website anyway. It's going to launch that out because I want to have a blog up there that people can comment on and can really, if there's something we need to do as an organization, we want to be able to serve that purpose. So that's kind of one of the things we're trying to do. And with partnerships with like with you and others, I think we can achieve these goals we want to achieve.
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you to convey what the Newby Foundation is about.
Well, essentially, I did. My father, James Newby Jr., was a physician, died at a very young age of 41 of a primary cardiac tumor, and which is a really rare cancer. I've not seen one incidence of that since I've been in medicine. And his life and legacy, he was the first African American physician to get privileges at Norfolk General. He was the first African American on the City Planning Commission in Norfolk. So he was a lot of firsts. He's in the same fraternity I'm in, Omega Psi Phi, and I did this a lot in honor of him because I felt like his life was cut short so quickly. He was in practice for like 11 years before he
Mhm.
passed away, but that which he did, the impressions he made on people, and that was 50 years ago. He died January 1st, 1971. And I still have people who remember him fondly to me. Of course, they're all older, but they remember him and remember him well. And that says a lot to me that 50 years later, you still have somebody that you really have thought was made that kind of impact on your life. So I really created that foundation in honor of him to serve the community. Things that we see as to health, well-being, informational, making that impact. And we're not a political organization, but I do. Listen. If I can influence to get the right people in a position of power that's going to help our community, I'm gonna push the envelope. But our design is to serve as a organization of teaching, of community intervention, wellness creation, and driving whatever we can to help our community. If it's job creation, if it's figure out how to educate for better jobs or for helping our kids in school to learn how to eat right or to do those things. We take on different tasks that we see that come up that we think is going to be impactful. So that's what we do.
Dr. Keith Newby, this has been amazing. I can't wait to go back and take it all in and view it. I'm going to use some clips, put them all on social media. Thank you again. We look forward to having you here. We hope to do a walk with you
I
or
look
something. I'm going to go to the American Heart Association, but if you all do anything, just let me know. We want to do a walk because you used to do those walks in the morning,
Yep, still
exercise.
do. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm in grad school, so a lot of the things I used to do, I don't post like I used to because I went back to I'm doing a public health master's program at UNC Chapel Hill, so that has been like a very time consuming endeavor on top of my full time practice, on top of the other things I do. So I don't want everybody to think I've disappeared. It's just been trying to learn more so I can serve the community better.
Outstanding. Well, thank you again for being here. Everyone, we know what to do. When I get that flyer from Dr. Newby, we're going to push it because we want to come out. We want to buy out all those vegetables. And so they said, look, we have to do this again. You're going to have to rent that Scope parking lot, hopefully, more often. All right. I'll follow up with you
Thank
and
you.
girlfriend Peggy. God bless you. And thank you so much. Everyone, thank you for supporting Girlfriends Tea. Tell everyone to subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much. God
Thank you.
bless. And you know what I'm looking for? I'm looking for the commercial.
You are a trip.
Commercial. Here we go. I hit the thing. I didn't hit it.